In a quiet, remote village named Okuru, there lived a strange and wealthy man named Mr. Oloke. He was known by everyone as the man in white. From his clothes, to his shoes, his walking stick, his mansion, his cars, even his dogs, everything he owned was pure white. No one had ever seen him wear any other color. The villagers often wondered about his obsession with white, but no one could ever crack the code. He rarely spoke to anyone and lived a reclusive life on top of White Hill, surrounded by tall fences and guards dressed, of course, in white. One day, Mr. Oloke hosted a grand function in his mansion. To everyone's shock, all the guests in attendance were dressed in white too. No one knew who they were or where they came from. The event stirred deep curiosity and suspicion among the villagers, but no one dared confront him. His aura inspired fear. In that same village lived a beautiful girl named Nora, admired for both her looks and her humility. Her best friend since childhood was Tari, a clever but slightly envious girl who often compared their lives silently. One evening, Mr. Oloke sat alone in his white study and thought, "This mansion is too quiet. I have everything, but no one to share it with. Who will inherit my wealth when I'm gone?" His eyes had long been on Nora, whose innocence and beauty stood out to him. The next day, Mr. Oloke drove to Nora's home. The moment the villagers saw him approach, they scattered. Nora's family quickly ran inside, peeking through the curtains. After standing for a long time with no welcome, Mr. Oloke turned and left silently. The following day, his guards arrived at Nora's house with baskets of expensive gifts and a letter that stated his intention to marry her. Her parents, poor and struggling, were hesitant at first, but greed slowly crept in. "He may not be as bad and evil as everyone says," they whispered to each other. They called Nora and sat her down. "This is your chance," they said. "Look at our condition. A life of worth awaits you." But Nora refused. "I don't want to marry a man everyone fears. Something about him feels wrong," she said. Unknown to them, Tari had come to visit and overheard the entire conversation. Her mind raced. If Nora's parents are convincing her, maybe Mr. Oloke isn't so bad after all. Maybe it's just a strange love for white. The thought planted a seed in her heart. When Nora came out to meet Tari, she acted like she had just arrived. "How long have you been here?" Nora asked. "Just got here," Tari lied, smiling. They walked to the stream as usual. On the way, Nora confided in Tari about the proposal and her parents' plea. Tari, now burning with secret desire, did all she could to convince Nora not to accept. "That man is evil. Everyone says so. You don't want to get trapped with someone like him," she warned. But deep down, Tari had already decided, if Nora won't have him, I will. Days later, driven by desperation and envy, Tari did what no villager had dared to do for years. She visited White Hill Mansion. Mr. Oloke, shocked to have a visitor, ordered the gates opened. Tari stepped in, awestruck by the grand mansion. She whispered to herself, "So this is what Nora wants to come and enjoy." Never. Mr. Oloke descended the white staircase. She stood to greet him, and after refreshments, he asked, "Why are you here?" With a bold smile, she replied, "Nora refused your proposal. But I'm ready to marry you, if you have me. My parents won't say no." He gave her a slow, wicked smile. "What makes you think I'd marry anyone else but Nora?" She froze. But after a long silence, he said, "Well, if you insist. I'll visit your home this weekend." Tari left, heart racing. Her parents, equally greedy, quickly agreed when she told them. That weekend, she married Mr. Oloke, without ever informing Nora. Nora heard the news through village gossip. She was disappointed, but not betrayed. She never wanted him anyway. 2 weeks into the marriage, Tari began to feel the weight of her choice. The wealth, the luxury, it was all hers. But something wasn't right. After the wedding, no one ever saw Tari again. The villagers assumed she had become too wealthy to mingle. But weeks turned into months. Still, no visit. No wave from the balcony. No messages. Nothing. What they didn't know was that Tari was never allowed to leave. As part of the unspoken rules of White Hill Mansion, once married to Mr. Oloke, the bride was never to step out again. And no one was permitted to visit her. Everything you need is in here, he had told her. There is no reason for you to leave. At first, she didn't mind. Luxury was everywhere. But then she noticed odd things. The staff never spoke unless spoken to. After sundown, the mansion became eerily silent. And worst of all, there were certain rooms she was never allowed to enter. One night, she snuck into the east wing. There, behind a thick white curtain, she found an all-white altar dripping with dried blood beneath the surface. And on the wall, a terrifying inscription. White is the color of judgment. It exposes what the eyes cannot see. To keep the wealth, blood must be offered. White shows the stain when the offering is due. Tari began to see portraits and mirrors reflecting other women all in white wedding gowns. She discovered their previous brides who also married Oloke out of greed, and none ever left the mansion. Seduced by wealth, and sacrificed when the spirits demanded it. Mr. Oloke had made a pact long ago, during a blood moon. In exchange for eternal wealth and life, he was told to give up color, to surround himself in white. The spirits of the underworld would then stain the white with blood when it was time to kill again. White was not purity. It was a warning. A trap. And the bride? Always chosen from the poor. Always someone whose heart held a sliver of greed, because greed made them impure. And impurity made them worthy of sacrifice. When Tari confronted him, trembling, he simply said, "You came to me, no one else ever dared. You offered yourself, thinking you were stepping into someone else's blessing. But you were only stepping into her place, on the altar. That was the offering. The spirits chose you long before I did." She tried to escape. But the doors never opened unless he allowed it. The torture continued till night. Tired and weak, she passed out. She woke up surrounded by candles. Mr. Oloke calmly tells her, "You were chosen because your blood is pure, just like the others. She is the sacrifice needed to renew the wealth. Not death, but barely alive in torment, forever renewing his power through her suffering just like the rest of his ex-wives." No one in the village ever knew what happened to her. Not even Nora. A year later, villagers once again saw something odd, a white horse leaving the mansion before dawn. And not long after, Mr. Oloke was seen strolling through the village market, his eyes trailing a new face. A young girl. Innocent. Curious. But this time, she carried something ancient that will lead to his doom unknown to him. He stopped and stared. A small smile curled his lips. In the mansion, a new portrait was hung in the east wing. Her eyes wide. Her mouth open in horror. And in the grand white bedroom, Mr. Oloke stood before his mirror in a fresh white robe. A small red dot stained the collar. "The time is near again," he smiled wickedly.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.